Welcome back to Freedom Algo. So I'm going to go over the 2000 tick chart, all the different trades that you could have taken today. We had a pretty sweet bullish uptrend day. There is some sideways stuff in the middle of the day, but it went up. There's a lot of trades today, so I'm just going to start getting right into it. Let's start with this. So we had this wide channel working right here that you can kind of see. But also, there was a possible wider channel in play that I drew later on that did come into play very briefly, but it then ended up failing. So it looks like this thing is starting to lose a bit of steam. And that's just how it went. There's some tighter channels in there. So let's just zoom in and we'll get into it. I'm a little bit sick, so sorry about the voice, but that's just what it is right now. All right, so right here we have a spike and a channel. And so earlier today, this is the first trade I took. It was at 5:21 in the morning my time, which is Pacific. So basically we had a spike here and an up channel working. And at the time, I didn't have this drawn up higher, so I just looked at this as like a spike in channel. And we had bounced off the bottom of this channel multiple times. So it was just looking really intact to me. And so what I did was I looked at this like this. We had a high up here, and we had a first entry pullback, second entry long that was also a higher low and a pretty bullish candle, and it just took off really fast. It was a really nice trade. So I like that one. And then it doesn't make a new high. Instead, it actually comes down and breaks the bottom of this channel. So because it breaks the bottom of the channel, I'm thinking that we're going to get a new high at some point. And then later on, we did get the wider channel. The thing moved on me, and I drew it off of these lows here. So what I was looking at here was I was looking at this as my new high now. And so basically you have a first entry pullback, second entry long. That one's an easy scalp. It's not ideal because it's a little sideways in here, and this candle is just somewhat bearish. It's below the EMA. So you're better off to wait and see if you get maybe a higher low, which you kind of do here. It basically makes an equal low, and then you get this reversal right there. So I saw this as a first entry, second entry short that fails, and you get this really bullish bar. So one tick above this is probably going to trap all these shorts right here because you are looking for a new high. So that was basically the trade of the day. And it was right after the open. If you got that trade, probably done for the day, depending on how you like to play it. I stuck around and got some pretty nice trades today. So it was really just a fun day overall. So then you had the wide channel. I did draw this tighter channel, which I took off of this low through those closes. And that was the wide channel. And then I had this channel here, which I drew off of this. Because this broke out, I was thinking of this all as a new move. So I went from this low through there. So I had that channel working, and there's tight channels within. Get a close outside, new high. Comes up. Now, this one is interesting. There is a short up here, but the way this one worked out was basically it's a way more advanced trade. So what it is that you had a break out of this channel, and then you had two legs up to a new high, and you're really far from the EMA, and you basically get this equal high with a really bearish bar, so you can go short below that, and I think that was actually a pretty safe trade. I'm going to mark it green just because it's more advanced. It is an uptrend. You want to just be picking tops, but you're not just picking a top there. There's a reason to take that trade. Now, a higher low would have been better, or sorry, lower high short would have been better if you got that, but we didn't get one. So it comes down, you get a close outside and a right here, and basically that down channel has now played out because I think it was actually I had like that. Anyway, from this double top, you have a first entry. It pulls back and gives you a second entry long when it goes above this bar, but it's pretty tight there. It's kind of a doji. It's not ideal. If this was a little bit more bullish, I would have said, yeah, go long all day. But because it's kind of like sideways, you end up getting into a little congestion there. Not ideal, but it is off the trend line, so it is a valid trade. It does come almost all the way back to stop you. It doesn't quite do it. So this is, I think, technically, what is this? 66.25. So technically, this is a higher low here, but at that point, it's too sideways to take it. So you just gotta sit tight, and then it ends up playing out. Uptrend is in play, comes all the way up. There's a data release up here, so you have to ignore that. Finally, you start going sideways after the data release, and it's just there's no trades and stuff like that. Don't trade and stuff like that. But eventually, you do finally get this move down where it comes down and gives you this reversal. where it just kind of rejects off of these lows. So, at this point, you would have kind of seen this as a possible range. What I was playing here was a possible failed breakout. I think at the time I had the range drawn like this, just like there was this tight area here, and it was possible that it was a little lower, but you still had room to it. So the way I looked at it was kind of like from this high right here, first entry long, second entry long on a failed breakout, probably kind of come back and at least tap the range. So pretty safe trade. It ends up actually going sideways for a second, ticks lower, traps a bunch of people, and then goes up. And then right here, you get a first entry, second entry short, but you can't take that. And this is an inside bar anyway. So if you really look at this, you could almost look at this as one big swing, first entry short, then comes up and tries to go down again, and it traps a bunch of people. This is just a trap. That's all this is. It's kind of like a failed second entry short that's a trap. So I consider that a good trade, and it also closes back inside the range, and you're just expecting that to go up. So that was a nice trade. Then comes up, finally makes the new high on this channel that you've been waiting for. And so there is a short here. You could kind of treat this as a double bottom, and you could see this as a first entry, second entry short. I also, by the way, considered this kind of like a triple test. So I forgot to say that. This is a triple test. That's another reason to like that one. All right, so then, yeah, you could treat this like a double bottom and say first entry, second entry short. If this was a little more bearish, I would have said that one was pretty much good to take because it is kind of like two legs up after this because you had a break and you kind of have like a leg and then a second leg. All right, comes down, get a close outside, higher low, but no real trade set up there, so you just can't take anything. Now you're in the range. Finally, you come up again, so you make another new high. Now, what I was looking at here was we had this wide channel that was still in play, but it was never really confirmed very well. And so what you get is you kind of, oh shoot, my microphone is falling. Hold on a second. All right, sorry, microphone tried to fall down on me. So anyway, what you have here is you could almost look at this as after this, a bigger two-legged move up. Kind of see this as after that wide trend played out. You could almost see this as like a big two-legged move. And it pretty much gives you a perfect measured move. And when it closes below that, that's a possible short on a failed breakout. Because you have this range in play. And it could be a failed breakout of the range. Most breakouts fail. You're better off to wait on the lower high, which you actually get right here. So that's a pretty nice one. Now, it is right into the top of the range, so it could bounce off of there. However, with the way that this played out, like, I was expecting this to at least still come back to the EMA and probably go a little further because of just the way that it all played out. You've already got your new high. This could be the reversal. So and it did end up taking off, and you definitely got a runner on that one. So that ends up being a sweet trade. And you even get another chance to get in here because you get a first entry, second entry long that fails. So I like that one too because basically you thought that this wide channel was going to be in play, but it breaks right out of it, comes up and then fails. So right off of this wide channel, so the wide channel was now not confirmed, and instead it just fails, traps a bunch of people that try to get long right there. And so anyway, I like that one. That's a nice short. So then after that, this down channel is in play. It gets a close outside, and then you get a new low down here. And this one is nice because it's a triple test. 1, 2, 3, bullish bar. You definitely get a runner on that one. Really nice trade, and it just takes off. And I mean, it does go sideways for 1 second here, but man, it just goes. Like, this one is a really sweet trade. And after this goes like this, this is always, when you draw a tight channel like this, you always assume that it could be a wider channel. So I drew the wider one. So even if you just trailed your stop loss basically below all these wicks as the thing was going up, and you just kept it below the bottom of the trend channel, you could have rode it all the way up until this candle and got a huge trade out of that. For me, I got out near these highs because I saw that congestion area, and I was pretty much going to be done very shortly after that. And I was already up on the day really well, so I just wanted to kind of take the money and be done. All right, so then we had this I drew a wider channel eventually off of this one, and off of these lows, which ended up coming into play. And then I had the big wide channel that I drew from the overnight low through this. Okay, so that's the big wide channel that's here. It ends up not really being that big of a factor. This wider channel is what I was playing, and you do get some trades off of it. So basically, you get one here, first entry, second entry long, but you can't take that because it's an inside bar. Just the way that it breaks, that's just, it's not going to work. So you're looking for a higher low. Now, it does give you one. It's just kind of a weird setup. So I want to call this out. You basically get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry, but it's an inside bar. It comes up, and then it comes down to the key entry point again, confirms the key entry point, and it gives you this 2-bar matching low and this completely reversal candle. Um, going long above that, I think that's going to work because I think you're probably going to go to the highs. You got plenty of room even to that high. So I just saw this as kind of a higher low after a second entry. So it's a pretty safe setup in my opinion, especially because of the key entry point in the EMA. So then it comes up, and what you get here is from this low, you have a first entry, second entry short that fails right here on this candle. Not an ideal setup the way that it goes, but it does confirm it's still right off that key entry point. So if you took that, I'm not mad about it. And then here, you come up, you get a new high. You don't get anything here, just a first entry. It's tempting, but you don't want to take that long. You just want to wait. And then eventually it comes up here and you get a first entry long that then comes down and gives you a second entry long. And this was my last trade of the day right here. And basically this one I liked because it's a close outside of this channel. So you're still expecting a new high. Now, sometimes it does make another leg down first, but it's above the EMA. We've been bouncing here. You do have to consider that there could be the channel, it might have been flatter. It might have been a spike in channel that looks like this. And if that's the case, you know, you don't know for sure, but it could have been like this where this was a spike and then it goes off of those lows. And if that's the case, it's still within here. So there was two ways to look at it. It's still within the wider channel. So you're just looking for longs. You're not looking to go short here or anything. You're not thinking this is going to fail down. So I liked that one. I took that. I thought that was an easy trade. It then comes up. It goes sideways a bit. There's no trades here. You do get this one, which I did like as well, where you basically have a first entry pullback, second entry long. You have to enter the reason this is not ideal because it's one tick higher than that bar. It's not a 2-bar matching low. So you do have to wait for this bar to close. But at that point, you can take it and expect that you're probably going to come up and either get a triple test, new high, whatever. But you could see it as a second entry long. You could also see this as a double top, and you could kind of look at this as a first entry, hidden first entry, pullback, second entry long. You could look at it like that. And I was hoping that this would actually come down and do a higher low and then confirm the wider channel, but it ends up failing. I did like it also because it was off the wider channel. It was the third touch that confirmed that trend channel. And now you got to break below. So you do have to think we're probably going to, it wouldn't surprise me if we make a new high today still, even after all this bullish action, because I was actually thinking that what's probably going to happen today is we get a big measured move. So it would look something like this. So you go from there. It could look like this, right? Also, could be from there to there, and then from there to there. There's a couple of ways to measure this, but in any case, I had shared these with my community earlier. This right here, this 58.45 area lines up almost exactly with a gap fill that hasn't filled yet. So it wouldn't surprise me to see us come up and try to tag those levels at some point. It might not happen today, might be tomorrow. It does look like we came up and almost tapped the daily EMA, which I was talking about this earlier. We're coming up to the 21 EMA on the daily chart. So it's possible. At this point now, if you were still trading, you'd want to be cautious of this lower high creating a new possible trend channel down. And you'd want to be careful of that. First target for me is probably back to this range. Maybe we get back into the range, and who knows? So that would be one of my first targets to look for. You know, there's also the next would be like these lows down here if it does want to come down, but it could easily just bounce off this range. It might not even go that far. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you soon.